So, the fixed mindset versus growth mindset makes all the difference in the world. Now, the third reason why you need to fail is for experiments. This is the quantity. Here's what I mean. In music school, I took singing lessons. I had this great teacher where I would bring in a song and he'd say, okay, sing it to me the way you wrote it. So I would sing it, start to finish. Radio and TV shows taught her everything she knows. So I'd sing the whole song like that. He'd say, all right, now do it up an octave. I'd say, up an octave? What do you mean? I can't sing that high. He'd say, I don't care. Go, do it. I'd say, radio and TV shows taught her everything she knows. It sounded terrible, but by the end of 3 minutes of doing that, I'll admit that I tried some things that I wouldn't have tried otherwise. It gives you a new perspective on what you're doing. Then he'd say, okay, now do it down an octave. I'd say, but I can't sing that low. He'd say, I don't care, try, go. I'd say, radio and TV shows taught her everything she knows. Then he'd say, okay, now do it double speed. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Radio and TV shows taught her everything she knows. All of a sudden, I had to focus on my enunciation and phrasing. Then he'd say, okay, now do it half speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of a sudden, when you're singing a song half speed, you have to really focus on where you take your breaths, and you find all these kind of nuances of space between the words and how you can use that. So then he'd even have me do some other things, like, okay, now sing it to me like Tom Waits would. Now sing it like you're Mick Jagger. That's it. Stand up, prance around the room like Mick Jagger. Do it right. Come on. So he'd run me through all these experiments. When it was all done, he'd say, okay, now how did the first original go again? And I'll admit that after trying all these different ways, it made me realize that the first thing I did was just yet another experiment. It was an awesome reminder that everything we do is just one option. Everything is an experiment. So the question for you is, which one of these versions was a failure? None, obviously, right? It's a silly question. There is no such thing as failure if everything is just an experiment. So one last story to tie this all together. A ceramics teacher announced on opening day that he was dividing the class into 2 groups. Everyone on the left side only needed to make one pot all semester, and that one pot would be graded on its perfection. Everyone on the right side would be graded only by weight. He said, I don't care what you make. On the final day, I'm going to bring in my bathroom scale and we're just going to weigh it. Over 50 pounds of pots gets you an A, over 40 pounds gets you a B, 30 pounds a C, etc. I don't even care what it is, I'm not even going to look at it, just weigh it. Go. So, at the end of the semester, there was a surprising result. The works of the highest quality, when an outside observer was watching at the end of the class, were all the ones that were made by the quantity group, those that were being judged only on weight. So it seems that while this quantity group was busy just churning out piles of work and learning from their mistakes, the quality group, had the one that was being judged just on one pot, had sat there theorizing about perfection, and in the end had nothing but grandiose theories and one mediocre pot. So we all have these perfectionist tendencies. So making mistakes and failing is a great way to break that paralysis. And in the end, apparently, it makes better work anyway. So, the 3 big reasons why you need to fail. Number 1, it's required for learning. Number 2, it keeps you in the growth mindset. And number 3, it reminds you that everything is just an experiment. In musical terms, instead of thinking classical music, think jazz, where there's this great saying, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. And lastly, it's a lot more fun. My name's Derek Sivers. I hope this was enjoyable. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.